Oftentimes, especially if you're a virtual company, there's people that are on meetings, right? And you always know there's one person you can just tell they're typing the entire time. Tactical accountability would be like, hey, I know that you've got a lot of work to do, but I would really appreciate if you showed up to this meeting not typing, because that's really not okay for our company. That simple. I've done that probably 3 times. Same with if someone's camera's off. I'm like, hey, sorry, at this company, we always have cameras on. Never had their camera off again, right? And if they did, like, you know, they would have another conversation. That's the tactical side of accountability. Now, there's the other side of accountability, which is going to be developmental. And so developmental accountability is essentially holding someone accountable to their career development. And this is my favorite kind of accountability because I think this is the fun stuff. But the reason it's the fun stuff is because it used to be the stuff that was really hard for me, right? Because this is essentially telling someone, this is where they are, they're here, and then they need to be here. And this has a lot more to do with character traits, habits that they formed, ways that they operate within a team, right? And so if you're thinking about developmental accountability, I'm thinking of, okay, there's performance reviews and there's one-on-ones. Those are the 2 major times that you can hold someone developmentally accountable.
All right, so look, that's Leila Hormozi of Acquisition.com, CEO of Acquisition.com. She is a multimillionaire on the highest scale. What she is talking about actually aligns to our blue sky strategy. So if you're new to the iconic influence, I want you to know that here we're studying the icons. We're studying how they built iconic teams, how they built organizations of such great influence. But also, we want to be able to tie these back to practical principles that you can use today. It's one thing to hear all these ideas from one of these leaders. It's another thing for you to have a clear principle that you can apply. If we haven't met yet, my name's Adam F. Jones. I'm a former Army commander and Black Hawk helicopter pilot. And I love leadership, and I love helping you develop your lens of leadership so you can bring the transformation that you want to see here in this world. The Blue Sky Strategy consists of 3 specializations. Right now, we're talking about situational awareness. Situational awareness is about seeing more and before others see. Great leaders have a very strong sense of situational awareness. Within situational awareness, she's talking about the 4th principle. And this principle is going to be really important for you as a leader, as someone who's building a mission-effective team. And this is called correct the drift. Correct the drift is a principle that teaches us that we can't always see the drift, but drift happens. And as leaders, we have a responsibility to call out the drift if we see it. And when we see it, we want to build a culture that can do that as well, where people can comfortably say to one another, hey, you're drifting, it's time to get back on course. So between her accountability within tactical and developmental, you're seeing this as consistently applied. If that aircraft drifts, you want anyone on board to tell you. It doesn't matter what rank they are. It doesn't matter what position they're in. You just don't want to crash. You don't want to lose your life, and you don't want to lose the lives of everyone on that aircraft. So we want you to call out our drift. In fact, it's a responsibility of everyone on board to do exactly that. You have a responsibility to tell me if this aircraft is drifting in an unintended direction. So if I say I'm moving left, and then someone says you're drifting left, it's not the same thing. I intended for that. But if I'm saying I'm holding position and I start to drift to the left, that's called the drift, and we want to call that out. It's the same thing here with developmental accountability. If we're saying, hey, you said you want to become a senior program manager, this is not what a senior program manager would do. Instead, this is what they would do. They would show up on time, they'd have notes, they'd be building out the reports needed for their stakeholders. You see how that works there? It's the same thing for us as kingdom leaders. Right? We have a source of authority. Christ is our authority. Christ is the authority over our lives. Correct the drift. It's okay if you're drifting, call it out and correct it. And you're probably not going to be the one to see it, so have someone else call it out for you and build a culture that acknowledges the drift. Let's go on to our next video.
Now, the second piece of this is context. Context is the why. Context is the set of circumstances that has created the job. What has happened within the company to create the need for this job? Tell them the story. Give them the context. Why do we need a customer support director? Let me tell you why. We started this company, this was our mission. Our value is timeliness. We started this team, we try to promote this person, they're incompetent. Now we have this huge problem because we're behind on all these customer things. And so now I'm like, I think I need a customer support director. And if people have context, they have a much easier time prioritizing. So if they want to create a more timely customer service department, what do they need to know about the company? What circumstances have created it to not be timely that they need to know about so they can create it to be timely? And then what resources are they going to need to know about or be aware of to help them get the job done? How do they go buy something? How do they go pay for this? There's so many things that are surrounding the job. And so the question that I like to ask myself is, what circumstances does this person need to know about in order to do the job exceedingly well?
All right, well, first of all, apologize for the corny music that was in the background. I have no way of taking that out, but no, just saying, I'm sure you didn't need the music, but I bet you got some principles from that. In particular, I hope you saw the principle of proper alignment. Okay, so proper alignment is really key when we're building our team, making sure that people are aligned to the way they see the world, to their experience, to all these different pieces of who they are, right? As a leader, when we actually use proper alignment in the right way, we realize that when someone is properly positioned, it produces in them permanent confidence. Now you might say, well, yeah, but they need to train, they need to prepare. Absolutely. But ideally their life has been preparing them for this moment. So that has already started to happen. So when we properly position someone, that permanent confidence begins to come out of them and affect other people. Instead of being dictated by different circumstances and the right perfect scenarios to bring someone's confidence up, they're confident because they know, man, I'm in the right seat. And this is really important, but I want to add something to this. And it's what Leila is talking about when she said resources. When she's talking about resources, that was really key. A strong leader knows that they need to give their people the right resources to begin to solve the problem for themselves. We don't go solve problems for people if you're building a team. Instead, you put them in a position to go start solving that problem and you guide them. We don't give them all the answers. We don't tell them exactly how we want everything because then you remove their creativity and their innovation. Instead, we say, here's what's going on, and here's why I chose you, and here's what right might look like. Now go. It's that simple.
I thought that I was doing my absolute best, but I was not doing what was required. It was a stretch for me, but it still wasn't good enough to have people gracefully leave the company. Got it. At the same time, there are instances where I do absolutely everything, I feel like, beyond what could be done, and it still happens. And in those situations, all I'm thinking about is, what are my actions telling the rest of the team? That is all I think through, is like, how can I use this as an opportunity to reinforce our values and reinforce who I am as a leader? And I have had instances, and not so far in the past, where I have had to let people go. And really, it's just like, I've only had to let go of 2 people in this company. And it might have been misunderstood, and then they may have done something really crappy after. And I was angry that they did something really crappy after. People knew about it. It was kind of embarrassing. But I was like, okay, what does it say about me to then retaliate? Because what happens when one person does something and the next, it escalates retaliation. You just keep going.
Right.
I just opt out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I will do nothing. I will protect the company. I will do whatever's in the best interest of the company. I will not retaliate at them. They are angry. They are emotional. I understand that. I'm going to give them grace, and I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to protect the company. I rarely try to do anything to make them feel bad. I know that they're probably humiliated, and people do weird stuff when they're humiliated. Mm-hmm. They're probably worried because sometimes they can't pay for their family. They might have a new baby. Like, there's so many circumstances that it's like, if you understand those circumstances, you're like, would I do that? No. But do I understand why they may have thought that that was the right thing to do or something to do? Yeah. And so I'm just constantly thinking of how I can teach my team through my actions, how we behave. And so sincere candor, unimpeachable character, does that look like a founder who, fights back or publicly disgraces or, tries to make someone's life worse? No.
So in the military, we have a very strict set of values that we all have memorized. It spells actually leadership. It's loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. So in moments of adversity, I have to think, how can I use these values and demonstrate them, not just because they're writing on the wall, but because there's something we actually believe, and I want to see other people demonstrate these values more. It's the same thing as a business owner. You might have a core value. For me, at Kingdom Operatives, one of our core values is honor. So I want to make sure, regardless of what's happening, that I'm speaking to someone with honor, that I'm operating under the protocol of honor, because the kingdom, that's how it operates. The kingdom operates under the protocol of honor. It sounds so interesting, right? But when Paul was asked this in Corinthians, he said the kingdom is peace, joy, righteousness, and the presence of Holy Spirit. And what he was saying is when the kingdom shows up, as that kingdom expands, these things will be felt. So if I operate under a protocol of the kingdom, it will be experienced by others. I hope that makes sense to you there. That's something that Leila is aware of as well with what she's working to create is how can I actually reflect what I want to see in this company? I think that's so gold. So let's jump into our fourth and final point and we'll close it out. But hey, before I do that, because you're here listening, let me share something with you real quick. You ready for this? Hotel. Alpha Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel. H. I want you to remember the letter H. Now, if this is a brand new episode for you, you are confused as can be. And here's what's going on. Iconic Influence is the world's first adventure-based leadership podcast. And that means I'm giving you key letters that will give you one word that will unlock a solution that only you will receive if you have all the letters in place. So I can't tell you last week's. You have to go listen to it in episode 2 with TD Jakes. But here on episode 3, I'm telling you hotel. H, the letter H. Don't forget it. Write it down. Let's keep moving to our fourth and final point.
You tell them what to do instead. Hey, really love the question. Great question. This would be a fantastic question for Eddie. Eddie's your manager, and so questions like this should go to Eddie. Something you can do, Lucas, is just like company-wide. I'd be like, hey guys, just want to let you guys know something I'm working on as a leader right now. I'm realizing I'm accidentally stepping on the toes of Eddie and Joe and Jill. They are actually your managers, and they should be answering these questions. I don't want to undermine them. They're in their positions for a reason. If you have questions about X, Y, and Z, go to Eddie. You reset expectations on a global level to the entire company, and then you reset expectations on a consistent basis by redirecting people to go to those leaders.
Our second specialization within the Blue Sky strategy is situational awareness. You've probably heard me talk about this a little bit by now. There are 5 principles that we teach. The third one is called decentralized command. Decentralized command is critical. You do not want to be the only point of contact for people to go to receive answers from. You might have all the answers, but you're not actually putting the right leaders in place to begin to filter out what needs to come to your level so you can focus on the big picture. When things go wrong, we zoom out, we take a breath, we look at the big picture, and then we step back in and engage. You can't do that if you don't have decentralized command. So, you might call this delegation. I want you to think of it from even a greater stance. It's not just about giving other people a task to do. It's about actually giving other people authority to handle the different tasks within an organization. See, it's not just about that one person who's coming to you asking a question and then you tying them back to their manager. Instead, it's about empowering and giving authority to that manager to make that decision. This is critical, okay? Not only is it going to save you time, but it's actually going to spread authority throughout the organization so people feel empowered. Now, here's one final thing I would say about this. You might not have been doing this. You might feel like it's too late. My culture is not like that. Well, you just saw here how Leila can shift a culture by saying, hey, I just realized this. I just noticed this. It's that simple. Go ahead and deploy that today into your organization, and you will begin to mobilize teams to accomplish great missions. And you'll no longer be the single point of failure or the single point of answers. Instead, you'll become the leader that other people truly want to follow because you have an organization that is influential, effective, and resilient. That's the Blue Sky strategy, and that's what we're studying today with Leila. Can't wait for next episode where we are going to study a very famous college basketball coach and see how he built this effective team that has won so many championships. Can't wait to see you there. Until next time, continue mission.